What up, what up? This is Master Vavi. Today we got something special, something different. October 15 is coming and you guys need to be ready for the current meta. Attention, this is a tier list for New World. A lot of things are going to change after October 15, so stay tuned for that. We might do an updated version of this. If you guys like this video, please like and subscribe. Stop being lazy, okay? And let's get into this thing because we got some surprises here, all right? Here it is, guys. You can see it. We got everything ready. Let me say something before we start. You need to understand that this tier list that I'm going to present to you guys, this is a tier list that considers all situations of battle, all right? So 1v1s, arenas that are 3v3s, OPRs, right? 20v20. Then we got wars, and then we got open world races or open world combat, which is also different. So if some combinations of weapons here are very good at some factors and very bad at others, maybe they need to drop down and vice versa, okay? So keep that in mind, and that's how I did this tier list, all right? See what we got for today so you guys can be ready when freaking October 15 comes out. Ladies and gentlemen, let's start with the first weapon. Great Sword Hatchet. That's the first weapon that we got in this tier list. And I'm gonna say Great Sword Hatchet for what I have here. It's a very good weapon, and we're gonna probably see some of the passives and stuff like that from certain weapons. But we gotta start with this weapon. I'm sorry, guys. This weapon is a B tier weapon. Great Sword Hatchet has it's very good on paper. It has a lot of people that can make this work better than others. But B tier is still pretty good. It's still gonna change its position, but for now, Great Sword Hatchet for me, this is a B tier weapon. It has a lot of good things, but it can still miss compared to other builds that we're gonna see here next. All right, so next, what do we got next? We got Warhammer Great Axe. I put this as a A tier weapon. That's right, that's a A tier weapon. Why? It's fairly common. Let's be honest, it's fairly common, but not a lot of people are able to use this, and it's quite predictable. You do have some movement here, some flexibility with movement if you use the charge from the Great Axe. But the Warhammer still is a weapon that's a little bit lackluster. But I put this in A tier because it's also very used in wars. It's quite viable in wars, and it looks like it's a build that it is used in wars, and that's why it's in A tier. It's good on the clumps. It's good on the OPRs. It can be viable on 3v3s if played correctly. So it's bad on the 1v1. So that's why I kind of kept this in this situation here, all right? It's A tier, but it's still going to change. Let's keep on going, all right? After that, we got Bow Hatchet. Now, Bow Hatchet, I know it's a combination that it's quite loved by a lot of people. It's not used a lot in wars. There's a couple here and there, but it's not a main build in wars. OPRs, it shines, in my opinion. It also shines very good in 1v1s, in my opinion, as well. In a normal 1v1 situation. Why? Because the hatchet, you get that berserk mode. You have that survivability with berserk mode. So they're running like wild horses, right? Like Mustangs with the superchargers. So they have that, and then they have the bow with bowcaster, right? So this is not counting for the combinations. I have the pictures, but there's variants of everything. So keep that in mind. There's variants of everything. The bow, you can do bowcaster or you can do hatchet sin. We're not taking in consideration heavies, medium builds, light builds. We're not taking consideration what is the armor piece that you're using. This is a general aspect of what the combinations are, okay? So keep that in mind. So in my opinion, this build is quite viable still. This is a very good build, and you can definitely smack, bro. This build requires some skill, so that's why it's going to be an A tier, but it's still going to be changing here. In my opinion, this is in front of Warhammer Great Axe. You have way more escapability. You can land a lot of shots with the bow because it shoots pretty quick. There's still exploits going on. All of you boys there dodging and shooting so fast with your bowcaster. You're so good. Let's see after October 15 how you guys are going to manage that, all right? Hopefully you don't get into depression. Moving on to the next one, Spear Rapier. Now, Spear Rapier, this is, we're getting into a little bit higher tier in my opinion. Spear Rapier requires some skill, and that's why I'm gonna put it in A tier. I'm going to put it in front of Warhammer, so I still believe it's better than Warhammer Great Axe. But this build, don't fool yourself, this is a hard build. But it's still very good in medium and light. So it's used in wars. It's very good in OPRs. In 1v1s, it can be a little bit predictable, but it's still very, very good in 1v1s. So this build is very dangerous, ladies and gentlemen. And I'm telling you, if you can find a way to manage and use the shields, the blocks from the spear and the rapier, you have very good perks on this. The spear gives you a lot of passives of stamina. The rapier gives you some maneuverability. So there's a lot going on here. Bleeds, oh my God. You will bleed to death with this build. So that's why it's in A tier for now. It's still gonna shift from this position, this current position. But for now, that's what we got for Spear Rapier. Very good build. Very good build. Now, Bow Spear, that's kind of a variant in the game when it comes out. The October 15 version, the New World Aeternum version. You have this as an archetype when you start the game. The Bow Spear is an option. But honestly, I don't think Bow Spear is something that is that viable. I don't think is better than any of the ones that we got in A tier, honestly. So that's why I put this actually in a B tier. So I'm going to put Bow Spear as a B tier and actually behind the Great Axe Hatchet. So I don't know if you guys agree or not, but that's what we're going to debate in the comments. So far, this build is quite, it can be quite good. But it's lacking some things on his second hand, right? Which in my opinion, the hatchet gives you that the spear does not. That's why I think it's a little bit worse than the bow hatchet. So that's why we're putting it on B tier for now. After that, we got Bow Rapier. Bow Rapier, also very good build. In my opinion, it's easily going to be a B tier weapon. And why is that? Sorry, Bow Rapier, but in front of Bow Spear. Why is that? The hatchet is still better with the combination of the bow because of that survivability of Berserk, right? And you can still root people and da-da-da. You get a lot of bleeds with this, but they reduce the bleeds on the bow, so it's not so viable. Rain of Arrows is still very dodgeable. The Rapier has a lot of survivability with it, but it's just not beating the hatchet at this moment. So that's why we see a tendency. This is kind of an older build, older meta, but it's kind of falling off lately compared to some of these other builds, especially the combinations of bow. I still think it's better than the spear because it's a little bit less predictable than the spear. The spear is still dodgeable, having very good abilities in passives and stuff. But to combine with the bow, I think still, because you can use this with a riposte, you can use the flourish, you can do a high DPS, you know, one hit kill, stack on some bleeds and stuff like that. So it's still viable. It's not better than Great Axe, than the Great Sword Hatchet. So that's why I'm going to put it behind Great Sword Hatchet here. Okay. Well, after that, guys, we got the Musket Blunderbuss. As you guys know, this is a build that we kind of started off. At least as far as I can remember, when I started doing this build, there was nothing out there like that. And Musket BB, we did it. We made it happen. We're not using it with traps, as you guys can see in my previous videos of this build. I actually got a video of this build, so you guys can go out and check it out. Musket BB it's very lackluster, man. I'm not gonna be lying here behind the bushes, but this build is very fun to play. But this build currently, it's lacking because of the DPS of the BB and also the passives of the BB, right? So the passives of the BB are very lackluster, right? The damage is lackluster. It scales off of strength. Its main thing is strength and then intelligence. So that's why kind of to combine it with the musket, it's missing. Now, if you use it with pestilence like I do, you hit a nest shot, you put in that poison, you put in that disease, sorry. And then if you can land some shots, you can do some pretty good damage, but with very low constitution. Not comparing to the musket and the voids and all that stuff. So it's not better than those builds. So you lose a lot of escapability because nothing really roots. You just got the nest shot. The other abilities are very mad. The abilities of the void or of the BB are very easy to dodge. Like AGS, yeah, this definitely needs some love. And because of that, sadly, it's a lot of fun and you guys should play it. Musket Blunderbuss stays in C tier. I'm sorry, it's our first CT weapon. That's the one we're using. We know it's not the best combination, but we were tired of playing with other builds. But talking just about purely the combination of this, I think it deserves a mentioning, and I think it has its place. Now I'm starting to see a lot of people play this thing, and if you land shots, man, if you're a beast with a musket, this can definitely work. You just gotta be smart. You gotta land the nest shot, and then you gotta time your explosion. So if they stem out and you're able to catch them without dodging, this could do some serious damage, but it's very situational. So it lacks a little bit on the 1v1 close quarters because of the nest shot. You gotta be very close. It does not have a place in wars. In OPRs, it can be okay. In OPRs, it can be fine if you shoot clumps and drop some bombs in the clump and, you know, be that kind of bomber guy with the grenades on the musket. It has its places. It's decent on the 1v1 in my opinion. It's decent on the 1v1. If you hit the nest shot, it can be pretty good. It can do some damage. C tier. My friends, I'm sorry. It is what it is. And then it takes us here. Right after that, we go to Musket Void. Now, Musket Void, my friends, you guys know it. This is the best combination with the musket. It's the Void. It's the secondary of all secondaries. It's the Void, especially with the Life Taker. It's just the highest DPS output that you can get out there. However, this build is very situational. Also, this build requires some skill. As you guys know, I think the musket, the bow, all these weapons that require aiming, it's another factor that you're adding into the skill gap, right? So it's increasing, or it's raising the skill ceiling. So therefore, it is a harder build to play. Sure, you can get a lot of kills in OPR, especially if you play like a rat, truly in the back, you know, not pushing anyone, not getting that, trying to get that 1v1, that solo 1v1, not trying to fight the 1v2. Sure, you can farm a lot of kills. Give you a pocket healer. All you guys, you know, very good players out there with your pocket healers. Very good aim. Yeah, sure, a lot of aim because you just gotta shoot red dots. But I'm gonna put this in the B place here. This is going to B tier. And honestly, is it better than bow rapier? It is not. This is not better than bow rapier. Is it better than bow spear? Yes, it is. In my opinion, it is. It's not better than bow rapier. Why? Because bow shoots faster. Bowcaster is a better artifact, which is what everyone uses. It bow shoots faster. You have a lot of movement with it. You have a lot of more movement with a rapier. You can put serious DPS with a rapier. The musket void is very good as a standalone kind of thing, but it doesn't have a big place in wars. And in the 3v3 arenas, it can also excel. But it's a build that it's missing a lot. It has a high DPS, of course, but because it has a high ceiling of skill, we had to bring it down to B tier, and you guys are gonna understand why. There's a lot of crappy players that try to play with this, and they just can't make it, all right? So keep that in mind. Right after that, we got the musket rapier. Is the musket rapier then better than the musket void? No, not in my opinion. It's kind of an older kind of situation as well. Same as the bow rapier is the older meta, but I still think that the bow rapier gives you more than the musket rapier, all right? You can combine it a little bit better in my opinion. And the musket rapier is just kind of, you know, it's missing something right now. Moving on. Great sword, getting a little bit off of the muskets for now. We got great sword, blunderbuss. This is also a combination from the archetype. When you start playing New World, you're gonna guys start playing in October 15. This is also an option. Let me tell you something. I don't know why they're putting this as an archetype. This on paper should work, but it doesn't. It doesn't work. This is not a build that a combination that I think it's viable. Not a lot of people use it. For that reason and that reason alone, I'm gonna put it in C tier. I'm gonna actually put it in front of musket blunderbuss, but it's because the BB is bad. It's honestly because the BB is bad. Blunderbuss is bad. The great sword kind of compensates a little bit, but it's just not a viable build. If you guys don't really agree, I mean, the only thing that you guys got to do is go into the comment section and, you know, drop some comments and let's talk about it, because I really want to debate this. There's a lot just preferences as well, but don't forget the things that I told you guys in the beginning. This depends a lot on the person that is using it. And that's why I'm also going to show you guys some of these next weapons that we got going on here. You're going to understand why I'm putting them in each tier, okay? moving on to Fire Staff Great Axe. As you guys know, Fire Staff is one of the most busted weapons in this game. It is bananas beyondas, okay? This weapon is just so crazy. There's like an elemental version to this thing. It just doesn't work. Gems doesn't work. You can have literally 35% of fire resistance, and that crap will just won't work, you know? It's just, it won't work. Crazy. It's broken. You can put, you gotta put pots. You gotta have like 30% resistance to not feel like a pillar of fire is gonna destroy you. Pillar of fire shoots so fast that it's in a frame, right? All the light attacks are too fast, right? So rate of fire is pretty quick. Fire projectile is pretty quick. Pillar of fire is instant, right? And then you got survivability because you can use the charge and just run away, right? You got also that. And you got empowerment, and it's just a weapon that has it all. It has AoE, insane AoE, radius, and damage on the radius. So like, it doesn't matter if you're on the center of it or on the border of it, 5 meters away from it. It doesn't matter. You guys can watch my videos. There's ton of clips that I just get hit by fireballs and pillars of fire. What about the cooldowns? Let's talk about the cooldowns. Did I say anything bad about this weapon? I'm losing my crap here. Anyways, let's move on. Fire Staff Great Axe, one of the best combinations for this weapon. Fire Staff Great Axe is one of the best. You got high movement with this because you got the charge from the Great Axe as well. The Fire Staff also has the same ability basically, so you're getting massive amounts of distance. You go back to Narnia, no one's gonna complain. You're back on the spawn base just with 2 abilities. That's literally what happened. You got high DPS, and both of them scale off of intelligence. Don't forget about that. You gotta think about the scaling. You don't need to split it a lot. So if you use this with the Great Axe or with Abyss, you're just scaling off of intelligence, and then guess what? Everything else is going to Constitution. So you're getting high Constitution, the max DPS that you can get with this piece of crap weapon, and this it is what it is. You know what I'm trying to say, right? You guys really agree with me. The developers love this weapon, and that's why, for that reason alone, this weapon obviously needs to be on an A tier. Why is it not an S tier? I'm gonna explain. Ladies and gentlemen, you gotta understand. S tier is Saitama level, right? It's one punch level, right? Like the S tier needs to be the best of the best, the best of the best, right? And it's not standalone weapons that we're doing. We're doing the most, viewed combinations. This combination is used in wars. This combination is used in OPR. This combination is used in 3v3s. This combination is used in 1v1. So like, this thing smacks, all right? This thing is really good. For that reason, we're going to put it in front of all these pieces of crap, and we're going to put it right in first place on the A tier, right on the verge of going to S tier, because this thing is that good. Mainly because of the Fire Staff. Going on, another weapon, Fire Staff. You guys are trying to piss me off right now, Tony. Anyways, what do we have here? Fire Staff Blunderbuss. As you guys know, this is one of the biggest metas of all time of New World, and I could tell you safely that it still is. It's just not a meta right now because people got tired of using Fire Staff, just like the Great Axe. People just got tired because there's a S tier meta. There's an S tier meta in New World, and that's why people are not using this. And most people like to go for the meta. And I get it. It's kind of a weak mindset, but we're going to let it slide. Meta, in my opinion, means people, the build that's most used, the build that it has highest DPS, the build that is easiest to use, brain dead. So meta has a lot into it, okay? It can be used. It's not used in wars, so that's why this build is not going to be S tier, chat. It is not going to be S tier. In my opinion, this is going to be A tier, second place, right after the Fire Staff Great Axe. Why? Because you have more survivability, and the BB is a lackluster right now. But before, if the BB wasn't nerfed, this would be S tier again. You know why people are not using this? Because this got nerfed. So if you guys want to go ahead and make me miserable, yeah, just play this build. Moving on, guys, Life Staff Flail. This is the first Life Staff that we got going on here. This is not a lot of Life Staff. As you all know, Life Staff, if it was the standalone weapon, Life Staff this would be a S+ God mode, right? Because Life Staff is broken in this game. It's Life Staff, man. I don't know what to say. It serves its purpose, but it's just too strong. Life Staff, like I said before, it needs a nerf. And I'm not joking. This is the only weapon that I say that it needs a nerf directly on its output of healing, right? Most weapons, I don't think they need a nerf in damage. I don't think so. Not even the Fire Staff. For me, the Fire Staff needs, I'm going a little bit off topic here, but Fire Staff just needs, for me, balance, not nerfing of damage. It needs nerfing of damage of AoE radius, nerfing of cooldowns. Like, increase those freaking cooldowns. Put that thing higher. No 9 seconds, no 6 seconds. No. That's too much high DPS and too much AoE. Nerf this thing, but in things that are smart. Don't do the DPS because then no one's gonna use it and it's not gonna be viable. That's what I call balance. Now, the Life Staff, that's a different story. Nerf that piece of crap weapon, 30% healing. Just bring it down, because cooldowns, these are people clapping like every 5 seconds, healing one dude against 10. It doesn't matter. So, however, this is Life Staff Flail, ladies and gentlemen. Life Staff Flail has its place. So Life Staff is going to be, in my opinion, last place on the B tier. Why? Life Staff is really good, but it does need that secondary to match, right? And the Flail at this moment is just so predictable. It needs to be on clumps to make it work. It doesn't passively. It's kind of meh. So it works a lot on the clump scenario, but not really on the 3v3, on the 1v1, maybe, sure, because of Life Staff, but it's just not a very viable combination. Life Staff Flail. Life Staff is a weapon that doesn't really combine with a lot of things. You guys are going to see that next. But because of that reason, I'm going to put the Life Staff Flail here. All of these builds are theoretically very, better than the Life Staff. I know it's a different comparison because this build is more to the support, but I'm going to put it here because of the Flail, which might change on October 15. Flail is definitely getting a little bit more love. Now let's get into IGVG, ladies and gentlemen. Now this build, as you guys know, if you guys been playing this game, IGVG has won its spot in New World, guys. And for that reason alone, this is definitely the contender to be the next S tier. It's still a build, and I'm gonna explain why is this not S tier. Let me tell you guys, IGVG is not a S tier weapon solely because of one reason. Because it requires high skill for this weapon to have most of its benefits. Right now, this weapon is really good on the 1v1 because you can do a lot of damage with those spikes. This weapon is really good on the 3v3 scenario because the same reasons, and you can hit those spikes. It's insane. And because of Intune is broken. That literally, there's 3 weapons that I think that are broken, 4 weapons that I think that are broken in New World: Fire Staff, Life Staff, and the Ice Gauntlet, and then the Sworded Shield. As you all know, we're gonna get into that. Those are broken. Maybe we could add the spear in there. Let's put the spear in there as well. So pretty much everything. The Ice Gauntlet, it's really not broken. Sorry, it's just one ability that is broken. It's literally in 2. And it's refreshing. It's crazy. It's people healing to 100% within tombs, and pylons is still bugged where if you drop a pylon and you get out, if you got the right perk that I'm not going to say on your weapon, once you get out of that circle of the pylon, you will heal. You entomb, you heal. You entomb inside the shower, you drop down the cooldown. It's like, Jesus, we got people throwing spikes every 2 seconds. It's like climbing a mountain every 10 seconds. It's crazy. So for that reason alone, Ice Gauntlet, Void, and then the Void also gives you a lot. Disintegrates, Life Taker is insane. So there's a lot of benefits on this. This wins on the OPR scenario. It's a weapon of support. It's a combination of high DPS. On wars, it's crucial. If this thing is not in the wars, we're having problems. So this is definitely on the verge of S tier. Not going to S tier solely because it's a little bit hard to dominate on this thing, okay? You got to have the right perks, the right scenario here to make it work. You can do it well as a support, but you won't get all the areas of battle. You won't get it if this is not well played, okay? So that's why it's A tier. And A tier is pretty high. So calm down, ladies and gentlemen. Going to the next one, Fire Staff, Ice Gauntlet. Now, I don't have anything to say here. Fire Staff, Ice Gauntlet, the most broken meta that we can find on the earth. Guys, we have a developer that 6 months ago posted a video and said, it's pretty broken. Guess what? Nothing happened. Ballers, Biundas, 0. And this is where I'm starting to piss off, man. This is where I start to piss off. And look, I'm telling you, this weapon, it is this combination is broken for all the reasons that I told you on the Ice Golem and all the reasons that I told you on the Fire Staff. And then these guys put conversion, so you think they're shooting fireballs, they're shooting Ice Golems because they convert the damage and it gets super crazy. And then the conversion, then the elemental version doesn't work. And then all the gems doesn't work for fire because the fire element doesn't really resist. There's no resistance to it because it's possible that something's behind it and we don't know what it is. And it's cursed. And that's what it is. That's what we got right now. Fire Staff Ice Golem is the first S tier weapon to make it. And this is the current meta. And whoever doesn't use it, it's because they're tired of using Fire Staff. But this weapon, this combination, it excels everywhere. It excels everywhere. You can even grill chicken on this thing. Moving on. Life Staff Void, ladies and gentlemen. This is going to C tier, and this is on the verge of B tier. Life Staff Void. There's some people that make it work with the Void, doing some stuff with the Void blades and But is this better than Life Staff Flail? In my opinion, no. It's right on the verge, so it's close to it. Is it better than all of these other weapons? No, it is not. Life Staff Void it's playable, but it's not BIS. Okay, yeah, come on. Some people make it a little bit better than others, but you will definitely struggle on some scenarios, okay? Now, let's go into the next one. We got Fire Staff Rapier. Now, ladies and gentlemen, this is going straight up to an A tier, and this is going to take, in my opinion, it's close here with Ice Golem. It's a close battle, but I'm going to put it on the second place of A tier. And why is that? Why is that? Because Fire Staff is really good. The Rapier is really good. Both of them combine really well. A lot of survivability, a lot of movement. But IGVG is just better at the moment. It's a higher meta. There's people smacking with this. They will kill you in one frame. Literally in one frame. Without even switching weapons. And the Fire Staff has a lot of that capability. But it excels pretty well in a lot of scenarios. But the Ice Golem is more because of the Ice Golem Void is better. That's why it's in second place. It's not S tier. It's not there. It's not the current meta. That was kind of a little bit older. But it is very, very good. Don't get me wrong. Don't get me wrong. Now, as you guys can see, we're getting Sword and Shield here next. Pretty good montage here. Thank you, Tony, for this production. It looks beautiful. Sword and Shield Greatsword, guys. Now, Sword and Shield Greatsword, Sword and Shield, as you all know, it's the most broken weapon in this game at the moment. But with combining this thing with a Greatsword, it doesn't have its place on A tier, in my opinion. This has a place on B tier. Why does it have a place on B tier? Because the combination is weird, right? It doesn't give you everything that you need on this. It doesn't give you all the mobility that you need. You have a lot of mobility with the leaps and stuff like that. But the Greatsword, the combination, sure, you can make it work. But is it the most viable compared to others? No, it's not. Therefore, it's going down to B tier. It's not better than Warhammer Great Axe, in my opinion. It is not. It's not more viable in wars. It is used, don't get me wrong. It is used. But it's not better than Spear Rapier. You know what I'm saying? It doesn't have more maneuverability than Bow Hatchet. You can lose. So that's why this is going to B tier. I don't think it's an A tier combination. So I'm sorry for that. I apologize. Moving on. We gotta move on. We gotta move on. Now let's go to Sword and Shield Hatchet, guys. Sword and Shield Hatchet, in my heart, has a place on A tier. Second place? No. Third place? Yes. This is better than Fire Staff Great Axe. It's kind of debatable. This one, you could have it maybe after the Great Axe. But the Hatchet at the moment with the Berserk and all the upgrades they did to Berserk, it is such a good combination. And the DPS that you get, the stagger, the combinations, the backstabs and all that stuff that you can get, people running from you after you leap on them and you bash and all that crap. Bro, this thing is just gonna stack up, you know, the Hatchet is just gonna, suck all the blood out of you, and it's just gonna, wreck your body. And then you get the survivability of Berserk. Then you run like a wild horse. Like I said, the rats right now in New World, it's not the muskets, it's not the bows anymore. It's the Sword and Shield Hatchet players, mainly Hatchet, because the hatchet has so much haste, bro. Look, let me tell you something, guys. The meta, the current meta right now, let me tell you what it is in one word. It is haste. If you don't have haste in this game, with the meta of Sword and Shield, you will just be hunted down like a Punisher hunting and avenging his family. Trust me, man, I'm not lying. These guys will catch up with you real quick from moon to star in a blink of an eye. So keep that in mind. Watch your back, okay? Life Staff Rapier. Guys, I present to you Life Staff Rapier, the one and only. Right? Life Staff Rapier. This is the meta of the last year. Just like Ice Gauntlet and Fire Staff. But Life Staff Rapier, a good player can easily take 5, 6, 7 players. And I'm not joking. I'm not joking. Like, you know what people say in the worst scenario for a healer? You guys know what they say? Yo, if you're using Life Staff Rapier and you can take minimum 3 people without any problems, you're a bad player. You gotta be really bad. That's what they say, because the cooldowns are insane. You got that riposte, you got that evade, you got all the flourish or fleece or whatever, you got the fleeches and all that stuff, and this is just good. It's a good combination. It mashes up together. It's perfect. This is like bread and burger. It works, okay? It just works. It is broken, yes, you know, because of the life staff, but they don't want to balance life staff. No joke. What do you see the most in games? It's healers. It's healers. They're everywhere. They're like rats. They're just everywhere. Right? So we move on. That's a S tier. We guys know we're not going to spend any more time on that. Now we go on to the next one. Sword and Shield Hammer. Warhammer. This is going to be in B tier, guys. I'm sorry. This is kind of meh. The Sword and Shield compensates for it, but then the hammer kind of brings it down. There's some people that make it work on lights and doing a lot of damage, but then they're very squishy, right? On paper, it should work, but the hammer it can be just very predictable. That's why the Warhammer is needing some love, but then it will be kind of dangerous, because if they catch you and they do that armor breaker on your spine, okay, it will hurt your ankles. Trust me. For me, in my opinion, right now, it's not very used. It's not very common. You don't see it a lot, so that's why we're doing B tier here. Okay, last place. No, I don't even want to talk about that. We're gonna wait for that one. We're gonna Sword and Shield Flail. Sword and Shield Flail is here because we see this build. It is dangerous, and there's some people with this thing doing, oh my god, they will stun you for days. You know, they leap, stagger you, and then they go and you know, stun you with a bash, and then they go with the flail and swipe your legs, and then kick you in your nuts and do a massive amount of damage with this thing. Now, some players do it better than others, and for that reason, and that reason alone, we're gonna put this in A tier, and we're gonna put it right here. I almost put the Spear Rapier in front of it, but this has a shield, so I'm not counting for round shields, for medium shields, long shields, tower shields. But so there's different variations of Sword and Shield, you know, heavies and mediums and stuff like that. But this is a build that works. It actually works, and it could be pretty viable if you have the patience to master it. Now, if you master it, it would definitely go higher, because it is dangerous with all these hastes that if they can catch you, oh boy, you better have some defensive skills. Then we got Sword and Shield Spear. Now, guys, we're almost finishing this, and we're gonna finish it right now. Sword and Shield Spear, for the love of God. We all know it. We're gonna put it in second place. Why? Because it's not better than Life Staff Rapier, but this is better than everything else. It's just like, this weapon shouldn't even be here. This combination should be up top. Sword and Shield should be in first place. I've said this a million times. Sword and Shield Spear has 5 stuns, guys. And I speak this with the most concern in my heart. 5 stuns in a combo? What kind of brain dead are we talking about? What is this? What is this sorcery that they're doing to us? 5 stuns in a build? Spear gives you all the stamina in the world. You can be medium or light in this build, and you will destroy. You will wreck people. You will stab people so many times in the back that they will have more holes. They will have I don't know what to say anymore. They will stab you so many times in your back that you will have more holes than a whole golf court. Staggers, stunts, bashes, leaps, distance, resistance, healing, spear, stamina, swipe, stuns, pulls, grapples, bleeds. Did I say bleeds on the sorting shield? Everything. You criticals all the time, medium, low, heavy, light. It doesn't matter. They just dominate every single scenario. Hey, unless it's against a ranged player with a lot of distance to run, usually they win. If they're good players at the same level, very hard to catch, right? Very hard to do. Then you got the 3v3s. They dominate. These guys come in medium builds and you shoot them in the head, right in between their eyes, and hey, they don't even blink. They just got. Did you guys ever think that range players like bow and musket, why are they so low in this chart? You say, oh, that's not true. I see so many musket voids. Just because you see them, it doesn't mean that they're better than other builds. It's because the player count is low right now, so you're seeing most of these players that are better with these builds, so that's what they play. But musket, you put a musket against a sorting shield, they just gotta right click, brother. Just right click with your shield and, you know, put that shield up and I can't do anything. If you have a tower shield or a long shield, I can do anything to you and you won't take any damage, and the only thing that you gotta do is wait, be patient, and you win. That's the truth, and no one will take these 3 spots from up here. Like, there's no debate. I don't want to hear it in the comments. Like, I know I said in the beginning, let's commentate and let's talk about this. I don't want to talk about these 3 here. So shut up. This thing is broken. No questions asked, and that's why you see these everywhere. These are the bruisers and the disruptors and all these guys in medium and heavy and wars and everywhere, and they gotta be there. They just gotta be there, okay? Sadly to say, the most brain dead build that you can play, that it is, right? Besides the fire staff, it's even more brain dead. I think we finished this off, but I couldn't finish this. This is like the most used builds in New World, like, no doubt. You could say one or other that we could add up here, like musket PP is not very used, but it's starting to get used more often. We could add some 1 or 2 more. But then that's why I was like, man, we're missing some love here. And that's why we got the section of honorable mentions here. These are the honorable mentions. What are they? These are builds that only some people are able to make it. And that's why they're not in higher tiers. It's because certain people or YouTubers or Twitch or streamers or stuff like that, you know, like, or not even, like just regular folks that we see them in the game, they're able to make these builds work and be feared demons in the battlefield. 1v1s, 3v3s. There's some of these guys are close to being A tier. You know what I'm saying? That's how serious I am about this. So that's why I added this honorable mention section. And I'm going to put... There's one person that made this. There's 1 or 2 people that made this work. Okay, Bet made this work and he does this. This is his main build. And that's kind of where he got known for. Was go check his YouTube channel and his Twitch channel. Great guy, Warhammer Ice Calling. He made it work with that. How did he make it work? Because he slows you, he roots you with the ice shower, and then he's using the artifact Ice Calling, and he puts the shower on you, puts that storm. Oh, buddy, he's gonna hit you in the back, and it's gonna crack your back like Dwayne Johnson grabbed you and busted your back on his knees. I'm telling you, this thing is gonna hurt. That's why it's in honorable mentions. Interesting build. Very hard to do. Not a lot of people have the patience to work with Warhammer. So that's why it's not in one of these categories, but it's honorable mentions. And that's, I think that would be fair to do this, okay? Another one that we got on honorable mentions is going to be the Blunderbuss Void Gauntlet. And it's going to be Blunderbuss Void Gauntlet or Ice Gauntlet. I think this is still better than the Warhammer Ice Gauntlet. That's why I'm going to put it in the front. Again, this is a separate column here, not going close to SC tier. These are better than these builds, don't get me wrong. But they are just not that used, not that common. And they're not that seen because it requires some skill, some patience, and not a lot of people. It doesn't give you those immediate factors that people see with other builds, right? But once you take your time and you make these work, man, BB, Ice Gauntlet, or Life Taker, especially, it's got to be with the Life Taker. Man, this thing melts and destroys. Let's get here Spear Void. Spear Void Ice Gauntlet. This is something that we're going to put in right here in first place of the honorable mentions. Why? Because Spear is so busted right now. And that's why it's getting the first place of honorable mentions. It deserves this place here, and a lot of people have made this work. Xanar, also a nice player in Valhalla. So keep your eyes into this. If you never try this build, go for it. This thing is an assassin. Rapier Void, also an assassin in my opinion, and that's why it's going to take second place. And same concept here, not better than the Spear though. Great Sword, this requires more skill in my opinion. Great Sword Void Ice Gauntlet. This is also a build. One of my buddies called Preschool. This guy is a machine, a devil destroyer, okay? He's a priest on the field, hunting down demons and destroying them. I'm telling you, this thing will melt your body like nice ice cream on the sun, okay? In Florida. I'm telling you, Great Sword Void especially can smack. But Ice Gauntlet too, because of that Entomb. It gives you survivability and it will work. Trust me, try it out. So I'm going to put this here in fourth place, actually. Fourth place after the BB, because the BB is just more viable with a Life Taker. And it has that range, right, factor of the Life Taker. And it's better than the Great Sword, which it requires a little bit more skill. The BB lands a lot of shots. And Warhammer, it's very good too, but it's a little bit harder. You don't get so much range gap and closive gap as you have with the Spear because of the passives of the stamina and all that stuff. This is my current 2024 tier list. This is the first tier list that I've ever done. If you guys don't agree, I would love to hear your comments. If you think that some things need to be nerfed that I didn't mention, or some things that you think should be buffed that I didn't mention, let's talk about it. Comment section. I will read every comment and let you guys know what are my thoughts on what you're saying. Don't forget to follow me also on Twitch, streaming every day from Monday to Friday, 4 p.m. Eastern time. We've been having a blast. We've been having a blast, my friends. I want to say we reached 700 subscribers. Thank you very much. October 15 is coming, and boy, oh boy, guys, we're gonna be melting. By the way, new build Musket Hatchet is coming. Be ready for that. That's gonna surprise you guys, and that's a build that's getting ready for the next season. Be ready for that. Musket Hatchet, it is going to surprise you guys. Don't forget to tell someone you love them, and I'll see you in the next one.